Okay, so let's get going. We're talking about goals. We have a lot to cover today. You all know that I am Nicole Michal. I am a business coach and money mentor. And today's session is all about goals. It can really be applied to anything, financial goals, money goals, business goals, personal goals, relationship goals, any kind of goal you have in your life. And the real thing we're addressing today that I don't hear talked about very often is the way that goals oftentimes make us more anxious. Setting goals can feel stressful. I know that for a lot of my clients, what happens is that when things are going really well, just kind of naturally, it's like, oh, great, things are going so well. I'm so happy with how things are going. But sometimes, as soon as you set a goal, as soon as you're like, yes, this is where I want it to go, this is how I want it to go, what happens is that if it doesn't go that way, it starts to feel incredibly stressful. It starts to feel like maybe you're doing something wrong. It starts to feel not natural anymore, and there's pressure. And one of the things we know about principles of the universe, manifestation, whatever you want to call it, is that the minute we apply pressure to something, the minute we start having like a tight grip, that's the minute it seems to most slip through our fingers, right? Maybe you can relate. There's something that you want so badly, it just seems like it always stays out of reach. So what we want to learn how to do is set goals without ever bringing in that energy of grasping. And it's like we're going to learn in today's session how to hold these two things simultaneously in our hearts and minds, which is that we can be intentional with where our lives are going. We can have goals for ourselves. We can say, I want to make X amount of money. I want to live in this place. I want to sell this product, artwork, book, service, coaching. I want to sell this thing. And at the same time, I want to also stay open to what the universe has in store for me. I don't want to create a scenario where if I don't hit that goal, I let it mean something about who I am, about where my life is headed, about what I'm comfortable, or I mean, what I'm capable of, what I'm capable of. So these two things we're gonna learn how to make these true at the same time for us. That's one of the things I want to teach you today. The other things we're going to talk about with respect to goals, and then I'll take your questions at the end. I just want to tell you all the different areas we're going to cover is what if the goal doesn't feel achievable? So sometimes we start with a really big goal, but we don't yet really believe in it. What do we do in that case? How can we have big goals that we still might not yet believe in? And what happens if it really seems like you're not going to meet the goal if you're coming up on those last few days? Let's say you had a monthly goal. Let's say you had an annual goal. Let's say you set a goal and you're in that time frame and you're like, oh my God, it's not going to happen. There's no way. It's just I'm coming up on the end of the time frame. It's not going to happen. We're going to talk about what to do in those last few days. And then we're also going to talk about what to do if you really don't meet the goal. What happens when you don't meet it? How do you keep going? How do you reassess? How do you set new goals? And everything I'm going to teach you is really applicable to any goal you want to set, whether it's money, whether, like I said, money, business, relationships, sales, anything at all. And then, of course, I'll take questions from you. If you have any questions about the goal setting process or anything that's coming up for you, I'll open it up. I love to do that live Q&A part as well. So let's just dive in. Let's dive in on goals. The first thing I want to talk about, because it came up in a session I had literally just before this with one of my clients, is what happens when I set a goal and I start to feel this anxiety, because it's like, now I've committed to it. Has that ever happened to anyone? Now I've committed to it. I said it out loud. I set a goal for myself. Let's say it's a financial goal. I said I'm going to earn $6,000 a month, something like that. And I'm not there yet, but that's my goal. That's what I want to earn. I set the goal, and now immediately I'm checking all the time. Am I going to hit the goal? Is the money coming in? Does it look like it's happening? Is it going to work? We start to play these mind games. And I also personally experienced this, and I'm going to tell you how I overcame it and what I suggest my private clients, what I tell them to do in this case. So There is a framework for goal setting. You've probably heard of it. It's called SMART. Um, it's like, wait, I think I wrote it down. Let me just read what the SMART goals are because I don't want to forget all the components. Okay, what is SMART? SMART is, oh, specific, right? Specific. So you set a specific goal. This is something that in manifestation, the universe really likes as well. It likes when we're really, really specific with what we want. I've heard it described as like telling the cab driver where you want to go. So if you keep changing your destination with the cab driver, if you say, let's say you're in New York City and you say, oh, I want to go to the Upper East Side. And then you're like, no, actually, I want to go to the Upper West Side. And then you're like, no, I actually want to go to the Village. Like the cab driver is just going to kick you out of the car. It's not going to work. They can't take you if you don't know where you want to go. So this specific component is super important in the world of goal setting, which is like, business goals, etc. And then also in the world of manifestation. So I want you, since we're workshopping goals, I want you right now to set a specific goal for yourself in any area of your life. Be really specific and write this down. Maybe you already know what it is. Maybe you've been thinking about it for a while, or maybe you just want to use this workshop to do something different, like set a new goal for yourself, whatever it is. Set something for yourself right now and write it down. If you have a piece of paper, you have a journal. I always keep my journal right here on my desk. I can write down goals as they come to me, thoughts, whatever. So I encourage you to write this down and be specific. The next thing about, and we're going to go through each of these with my own unique kind of take, but I'm going to take you through all of them first. So the next thing is measurable. So it's kind of the same, right? Can I measure it? Is it specific? Can I measure it? In the world of manifestation, like when we're talking about, let's say what you want is a relationship. I mean, you measure it by, am I in a relationship or not, right? It's easier if it's like a money amount, but am I in the relationship or not? Is there a yes, no component? You just need some sort of way to be like, when do I know I achieved it? How do I know it's achievable? So if your goal is more like a feeling, like I have a goal of waking up every day with gratitude, you just need to know, okay, so what's your gratitude metric? Are you just going to be like, it's a feeling? Or are you going to say, well, how will I measure gratitude? I'm going to start to write down 10 things a day. And if I can't get to 10 things, then maybe I'm not really grateful. Like create, even if what you want is a feeling, even if what you're desiring is an energy in your life, create some way to measure it so that you personally know when you're there. Because a good thing, one important part about setting goals is we have to keep increasing our goals. We're not there yet in this talk, but we're going to get there. So I want you to be able to measure it. So right now, you just wrote down your specific goal. Now write down, how are you going to measure it? Are you measuring it by how many gratitudes are on your list? Are you measuring it by the actual dollars of something that you're selling? How are you measuring it? Write that down as well. This is how I measure it. Now, the other thing they say about goals is that they have to be attainable. That's the A in SMART, attainable. What I like to do with goals is I like for people, I tell my clients to do this, and I personally do this as well, like close your eyes and feel how the goal resonates with you. So let's say you're someone who right now earns $3,000, $3,500 a month. This is actually similar to an example that I recently did with a client. The client, let's say, earns between $3,000 and $4,000 a month, and they want to go to the next level. So they say to me, Nicole, what's the next level? What's attainable? They ask me. So I always turn that back around on you. What feels attainable to you? So if you close your eyes right now, as you're watching this, you just wrote down your specific goal. You just wrote down how you're going to measure it. I want you to energetically start to feel, is this attainable? And there are some things in life that are like, we don't know if they're attainable because some of this is partnering with the universe. But what you can do is you can sense check if you feel like it's something that is meant for you in from where you are right now. So for this client who's making between $3,000 and $4,000, I said to them, well, what would feel attainable to you? Like, does $4,000 as a steady base feel attainable? Does 4,500, 5,000? What feels attainable? If this person could say to me, I want a quantum leap to 10,000 a month. I know I'm only at 3,500, but I want to go to 10. If that person says to me, if I say to them, close your eyes, can you see it? Can you feel it? Does it feel actually in your body like you can become that person? If they say yes, then that goal is attainable. Someone else might say, no, there's no way you can go from 3,500 to 10,000. I don't believe that's true. I believe the limits are only in our mind, but it has to be attainable to you. So let's say you're even making $15,000 a month. If you really can energetically get behind going to 50,000, more than doubling, tripling your income pretty quick. If that feels attainable to you, then set that goal. Okay. No one else is going to tell you. But if it doesn't feel attainable, bring it back down, bring it back to the level. And again, you do this eyes closed, sense check energetically. You can even put like one hand on your heart. You can put both hands on your, for women, we put them like at our hara center, like in our uterus, our abdomen, because those are where we get like our gut. They say, what does your gut say? Well, put your hands there, put your hands on your gut, put your hands on your heart. Be like, does this goal feel attainable to me? And make sure that it does. Make sure it feels like something maybe you don't believe you can have today, but you can see it in the foreseeable future becoming attainable. And then in the SMART, so then we talk about relevant. Is it relevant? Yes. I mean, hopefully you chose a relevant goal for you. What I think of relevant is something you really want. Now, actually, this is a little interesting to talk about because I think a lot of us set goals that we don't really want, that someone else wanted for us, or that we were programmed as children to think we should want. And, you get to decide if it's relevant for you in your life. So this is where meditation helps. This is where inner work helps, working with a coach, journaling. You want to, from time to time, check in with yourself and be like, do I still want this goal? Is this still important to me? Things might change. It might not be relevant for you anymore. It might not be your next level. It might not be aligned. So just make sure that whatever goal you're setting is something you really want, not something you wanted in the past or something you grew up thinking you should want. Maybe you don't really want it. I've had goals that don't come through because when I really, really in my heart asked myself, do I want this? The answer was no, or I didn't feel like I could handle it. So a good example of that would be like, let's say you're expanding your business and you said you wanted a certain number of clients. Like I always set an energetic minimum number of clients I'm going to serve. Sometimes I will do something where I'll be like, oh, I want another client, but I don't. So I think I should. It's like, oh, it would be nice to have another client, but I'm actually not aligned with it. Like I don't really want that work right now. And then it doesn't come. So that's what I think relevant means in this context. Do you really, really want the thing you say you want? And so the reverse isn't true. Like if something in your life isn't coming, I don't want you to necessarily second guess yourself and say, oh, that must mean I don't really want it badly enough. That's not necessarily true. That's not what I'm saying. I don't like those manifestation mind games, but I just encourage you to evaluate, sense check with yourself. Is this still the goal that's really relevant to be in my life right now? So every time in our lives, there are cycles. Sometimes there are cycles of like expansion. Other times there are cycles of just like more homeostasis. We're not really looking to expand. So if you're in a period where you feel like you're trying to find steady ground, but you set this huge expansive goal for yourself, that may not be relevant. So just ask yourself, check in with yourself, do this. And then time bound, that's the T in SMART. Time bound. So they say that it's good to put a time frame by when you will achieve this. And I agree, but I also want to talk about how I play with this time bound idea, because this is the area that I see gives people the most anxiety. So remember, this whole conversation started about what about goals gives us anxiety. So I see with my clients that a lot of times the minute we apply a time bound specification to a goal, like I need to make X amount of money by April, or I need to be married by this age, or I need to have children by this age, or I need to have written a book by this age, what I need to have gone to this degree or whatever. Whenever we start to say by this time frame, something in us immediately is like, oh my God, the clock is ticking, the clock's ticking, the clock's ticking, the clock's ticking. I have to do it. How many days? How many days do I have left? I need to make $5,000 by the end of April. How much have I made? So we immediately, that time bound part gets us all freaked out. And that's a lot of the time when I go through this with clients to try to find out what it is that's causing them anxiety. A lot of the time it's the time bound piece. So I want to encourage you to play with what it means for something to be time bound, because we live in a three-dimensional reality, right? And the fourth dimension is time. So time is real for us. But at the same time, we also know, even though I can't say I actually understand time, but I know that time is not necessarily as linear as it is in my mind. I know that in the quantum field and the whole galaxy, I can see, this is how I think of it. I know I can see light from stars. The stars are millions of years away. I see the light now, but the star is gone. Like that star could have died by now, but I can still see the light. So I know there's something about time that I don't fully understand. It's not as immediate as it seems to be to me. So what I ask you to do with time bound is expand your mind around, like, what does time even actually mean? If I can see the light from something that's no longer there, could I potentially be living today in a future state of this goal as if it already happened? And that is actually like the trick of manifestation that everyone teaches. It's that, could I act today as if this goal, which I'm saying is in the future, I'm saying it's in April, I'm saying it's by the time I'm 40, I'm saying it's by the time I'm 60, I'm saying it's by this date and age. What if it wasn't then? What if it was now? What if it was now, even though it's not really the now I understand? So expand your concept of time. When you do that, you can also expand your time-bound metric. So for me, what's always important is hitting the goal. Less important is like by the date. So I'll give an example from my own business, and you see how this applies to you. When I first started setting out with playing with goal setting and manifesting and expansion, I used to start with goals for the month. This is probably something maybe many of us do, right? We think about our goal for the month. How much do I want to produce, achieve, sell, earn, whatever, okay? Monthly. That was very stressful for me. That time-bound component of the month didn't seem to work, because what would happen is that at the end of the month, I would review and I would be like, oh my God, it's not going to come. There's just no way. Let's say I set a goal of $10,000 for the month, but I had only thus far made five. My mind just couldn't get into the space of like, I have one day left to make $5,000. It wasn't working for me. And what would happen is the day would pass and I wouldn't hit the goal, and I would just kind of give up. Like, okay, well, if I didn't hit the goal for that month, I guess I'm not going to hit the goal. So now it's a new month and I need to set a whole goal all over, because I was in my mind time bound. It was like binary. Did I succeed? Did I fail? Well, I didn't. I didn't succeed, right? For example, another example, I had an idea in my mind of when I would get married. So I am now 37 and my wedding is planned for December of this year. I will be 38. This event is happening years after Nicole, as a younger person, decided she would get married. I think I said I'd be married by 28 or something. So does that mean that the goal isn't being achieved? I've always wanted to be married. That's kind of like a personal goal, let's say, right? But if I had at 28 years old been like, oh, I didn't get the goal, I guess I just have to give up on the whole thing. and kind of lost hope, that would be very sad, right? I would have been putting myself in this energy of like, oh, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to get what I want. Same thing with the, the $10,000 a month goal. If I didn't get there, I would go to this energy of like, oh, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to get what I want. The universe isn't supporting me in this. Was my goal too high? Did I not get it for a reason? Is there something wrong with me? Like this rabbit hole of why didn't I achieve the goal? What's wrong with me that I didn't get it? What I invite you to do, since we already kind of played with this concept of expansion and time, is if time isn't as real as we think it is, does the date that you set really matter that much? Like, can you stay in the energy of the goal and know that even if you didn't hit it yet, doesn't mean it's not coming? So what I did, which worked for me a little more, at least around the monthly thing, was I started to set annual goals. I took the pressure off of the month because that was making me a little crazy. Like every month having to have this like churn of getting this goal. And I set the goal annually. And I would say, okay, for the whole year, I'm going to earn X amount. Now, when I did it that way, I always met my goal. I mean, within a couple $1,000s of the goal, I always met it when it was annually because that felt like expansive to me. So since we're setting goals that don't give us anxiety, your job, your homework is to find out what works for you in terms of your goal setting. This is the thing that's not usually taught. We don't teach a personal goal setting. We teach this is the formula, these are the SMART metrics, this is what they say to do, and this is what you're going to do. And what we ignore is our inner guide. We ignore our higher self. We ignore that connection with the universe that is actually not only helping us achieve our goals, but that connection with the universe is what's setting the goals. Your desires came from somewhere. So that's what I want you to trust. That's the key to not having anxiety around this, is when you know that your goal is in alignment with your higher self, when you know that your goal is inevitable in a sense, like you are going to achieve this, whether it's by the end of April or not, whether I got married by the age of 28 or not. It doesn't matter that it's at 38. That's what was meant to be, that I'm still getting the desire of my heart fulfilled. It doesn't matter if I didn't hit my monthly goal, I still hit my annual goal. So you find for you what would feel good. And you can just do this again, close your eyes, put your hands on your heart, heart's on the left side of the body, or put your hands in your abdomen. Or one on each. Sometimes they say right hand on your heart and left hand on your abdomen, and just ask yourself, like, what would feel good? What feels expansive? What goal gets you super excited when you see it coming? Like you see yourself getting this thing, you see yourself getting the news, you see yourself hitting the number, you see yourself at the wedding or whatever, selling your art or selling your book or selling your thing. What feels so exciting to you? And in that moment where you feel the excitement, in my mind, it's already done. It's done. The goal is achieved. Somewhere out there in the space-time continuum, that excitement, that seeing, that knowing, that desire has been put out there to the universe, and in some plane it's achieved. Maybe it's achieved 10 years from now. Maybe it's achieved 10 years ago. In time, it doesn't really go only forward. We're bringing the past into the present all the time with memories of the past. So in that moment, when you feel it, when you see it, when you get excited about it, that's where the goal is achieved. And then your job is to go about your life knowing that your goal is already achieved. You've already done it. It's already been given. Your job is just to do you do the footwork. Okay. Yeah. You have to write the book. You have to try to get the sales. You talk to the clients. You go on dates so that you can get married. You do whatever is required of you, but you do it knowing that it's coming. It's inevitable. So if you're trying to go from 3,500 to 5,000, the minute you feel that 5,000 like drop in, to me, it's like this moment of like, oh my God, I'm so excited about this. It's really going to happen in my mind. That's when it's already real somewhere. And then I just go about my life knowing it's inevitable that one day I'll be making 5,000 a month. That's it. It's going to happen. Is it going to happen this month? I don't know. I can't tell you. I'm not a fortune teller, but is it going to happen at some point if you desire it and you keep working for it? Yes, absolutely. So you right now, you've been writing some of your goals. You wrote down a specific goal, right? You wrote down how you're going to measure it. You sense checked with yourself, is this attainable? If it doesn't feel attainable, you're going to revise it. You might even need to bring it up. Sometimes a goal is not like exciting enough for us. So you might not need to bring it down to feel attainable. You might need to bring it up to excite you. So you play with that. You're going to check if it's relevant. Hopefully it is, hopefully you're not bringing a goal from someone else in. Like, for example, if you have a partner in your life and that partner wants your business to make a certain amount of money, but you yourself don't feel ready to make that money, or that's not really your desire, that would not be a relevant goal for you. That's someone else's goal for your business, not yours. So I actually work on this a lot with my clients. Like, what do you really want? What's your goal? And then now you're reviewing the time-bound piece. Set something that's time bound, that feels spacious and expansive and good to you, achievable, not something that makes you feel like, oh my God, the clock is ticking. And I want you to give yourself permission to make it as like luxurious and expansive as you need it to be. For me, setting annual goals worked, but it might be that for some people, an annual goal still feels too restrictive and you need to do like a 5-year goal, or I don't know, you just choose what works for you. And this is my prescription for how to shift your anxiety around goal setting. It really, really works. It really is this personal process of going within, playing with these concepts and aligning with what feels good in your heart and trusting yourself around your goals. So I want to pause there because that was like a big process that I gave you. And I want to give you a moment to ask questions on anything I just said, and then we'll go on to some other parts. If you have questions on this or if you have questions on anything else, you can ask it now. I'll pause and take for a minute.